what were some of the, um, even lines or things that you heard during the podcast? You're like, wow, that really stood out to me, or wow, I'm really gonna take that away from this conversation. Or maybe you were just like, I enjoyed this whole entire conversation. Instead of that, what were some moments or just things that you heard during the conversation that really stood out to you?
I mean, I'll say like just because Josue, like you and I had been talking about it for a minute, um, like being able, just the whole Pat and Chaz conversations, like both of those, I think were so on point in so many different ways. In terms of Pat being able to talk about, relationships and success and entrepreneurship and like pouring into us as like, single dudes who, are trying to balance, you know, finding a wife and pursuing our callings and doing all that kind of stuff. Like it's something that was absolutely amazing. And having conversations with Pat in the past, like I knew he was going to come out with something special. And he did. He was amazing. And then Chaz, like personally for me, like apathy is something, and like cycles of like being motivated and unmotivated are things that I go through. And so being able to discuss with him, like, you know, his experiences with that and lessons that he's learned from that. And then that being wrapped up in identity and like that conversation, like that was so awesome.
Yeah. So I like to piggyback off what you said. I mean, I think everybody had something great to contribute, but really, I think the more relatable for me was with Pat and Chaz. Um, like some of the things about success that he described really resonated so well to me because those were certain things that I used to view, and he really helped uh, just kind of unwrap that deception that society emphasizes what success is, and even just following these gurus that I followed and read their books and was so just impressed by. I was like, wow, these are guys that I want to listen to and hopefully achieve success that way. And really, just the importance of success. Really, just I don't want to like I honestly don't like the word success either because like there's so many definitions that people give to the point where it's just like, oh, one sounds better than the other. But
Yeah.
I think simply put, like as you know, as sons of God, like we're called to do the Lord's will, and we want to be in obedience to what He's calling us to do, the purpose that He's put on our life. And I think that as long as we follow through with that, that's how we should live. So, yeah, just hearing what Pat had to say about that and just redefining that, I think that really helps as believers just to change our perception of what success is, because I think that it could really, especially from my culture, because I kind of shared that on my podcast, but um, there's such a heavy emphasis on success and honoring the family and the Korean culture. And I've always put myself down for not accomplishing certain things at a certain time. And listening to what he had to say really just encouraged me to know that, like, hey, I just have to keep going and being obedient and trust the Lord every single day and walk with the Lord daily and build my relationship with Him on the daily. That's all that matters. And the Lord will provide, as He always does. He is faithful. So as long as I follow through with that, then I have nothing to worry about.
I think with all of them, something that stood out was how vulnerable everyone was about whether it's their story or their perspective or what they're walking through. And I think that that's what helps people find freedom, like being vulnerable enough to share the innermost, deepest feelings or thoughts. Like I think of, Pat's episode where he was talking about the verse, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. And I'm not gonna, ruin it for y'all. If you haven't listened to it, you should definitely go listen to that. But the revelation that he got from his life experience opened my eyes to see that verse in a way that I haven't ever seen it before, and won't ever see it the same way ever again. So I thought that was really cool. Pelaya's the way even like his experience in coming to the United States was in some ways similar, but in so many ways different. And being able to glean from how that shaped and impacted him was awesome. Same with Hannah. Yeah, I think I said it right. I just didn't want to say Hannah because I know that's the wrong one, but like seeing her gift as a photographer and as a creative, and realizing that actually came from her dad supporting her, which isn't really normal in African cultures, which I think needs to be more normal or be more normalized. Jazz's they were all really good. Honestly, I think the biggest thing that sticks out is the level of vulnerability. And I think, let me even just say that, shout out to both of you guys, because I think you've created and stewarded a platform where people can be themselves and where people can be vulnerable. And as much as you guys are learning, I think the people listening and watching are also gleaning and taking a lot from it, because you've created an atmosphere where perspectives, can be shared freely and openly. So,
Yeah, Grayson.
Just kind of piggybacking off what everyone else was saying. One of my favorite people that we interviewed or had on the podcast was Pat. Him talking about relationships and just going through just going through being single and the way the dating is nowadays, and just all of those different things that I'm trying to figure out how to put this. Just kind of how the world sees relationships and how relationships are defined biblically was just kind of cool to get into that, and how we kind of all have expectations of what we think we see. He made a really good reference that kind of stuck is it's like trying on shoes, you have the perfect shoes you want, or they got to have white laces, they got to be black, they got to have green soles, or just kind of whatever. You just have this checklist of things, and just kind of getting down to it at the end of the day, a lot of those check things that you think are important aren't really that important when it comes down to a relationship. It's all about finding somebody who you can be vulnerable with, and someone who sees you for who you are, and not just he goes into it a lot better, and everyone should listen to that podcast. It's really well. And then also too, I really enjoyed listening to y'all's podcast, hearing about Africa and all that. Like I said, I love getting to know everyone as far as their different cultures and where they're from, and I really enjoyed hearing all of the kind of the background, the way that the parenting style, and all those cool stories about how it's different in Africa versus America, and just when you were at the sleepover,
Those sleepovers.
the kid being disrespectful to
Yeah.
his parents, and you're like, what's going on right now?
You feel like you're gonna die.
That's very
Yeah.
much an American thing, I feel
Yeah.
like. But I don't know, just hearing all those stories, those were probably my two favorite out of. I mean, they were all great, but those are the ones that I, spoke to me the most. I thought were really cool.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, go ahead.
If I could just add one quick thing to that is I love, and this is something that like we talked a little bit beforehand, like before that conversation of like one of the things that I was hoping that the listeners could get out of that conversation, and I mean frankly the conversation with Hannah as well, is like, with y'all being of the same, relative skin tone and things like that, with like being black, that even with that being the case, like there's still richness and depth in your ethnicities, and the fact that not all people who are black are the same, not all people who are white are the same, not all people who are Asian are the same. And it's something that, like, it's an idea that I'm still trying to wrestle with, is like this feeling that I have of overemphasizing race in a number of conversations, and under signifying ethnicity and the value that it has. And it's something that obviously, like, race manifests itself in the world in unique ways, but like those of us within the church, I know Lisa Sharon Harper talks a lot about this, is like we need to like reclaim ethnicity in a certain way. And it's something that at that point, like, we really, it automatically opens the door to like relationship and depth and conversation, because it's not just based on like the color of the person's skin, but like knowing that person and where they come from and who they are and their past and their journey. And so that's something that I hope people are able to get from like those couple conversations, is like the value of like culture and things like that. So Joshua, you can continue.
Yeah, no, I was pretty much going to say, being a part of all of those conversations, I mean, for me, there was a lot of, things to take away from that. But it was definitely a new experience bringing out the video format, because while we were recording the first video with Pat, you guys know the introduction that we do with Chase and I and our guests, but bringing on the video component to it, my mind literally just froze. So if you watch that video, you see me like I'm just blinking like 50,000 times trying to remember what I normally say all the time, every week, whenever we do the podcast. So it was interesting, just getting more comfortable. It took me a little bit to get more comfortable speaking to the camera and just figuring out how that worked. But I really just loved all the conversations, from learning about my boy Pelaya and his coleslaw addiction. I'm just joking.
Shout out coleslaw
that's
boy.
a little shot. But no, I enjoyed his, just Wimberley. I don't even know where Wimberley, Texas is, but I enjoyed that. So I hear.
on our motorcycle there all the time.
In Wimberley, I don't even know where that's at. I'm gonna look it up when I get back to Texas. But just cafe, okay. Just learning more about him. From that was the first time we met and we got on the podcast, and that was great. And Yvonne I've already known, and so just being able to have the three of us kind of go back and forth and share different stories, and then bringing Hana as well, another African country being represented there, as Grayson said, and being able to share some of those experiences, and listening when she talked about her earlier having disagreement with her parents, almost walked off the step because it just didn't make sense to me. So, I was like, whoa, this is shocking. But I really thoroughly enjoyed those conversations as well. Tyrone, we've known for a number of years now, and just seeing all that he is doing, and how God has continued to raise him, and just, using him in this community was a beautiful thing to see, and then to even just hear more about the structure behind that and what they're seeking to do was great. Having that conversation with Chaz, seeing depth in people as well, in him, and but also just seeing how he's able to balance that with just being able to joke around and be goofy and make faces. And as you guys have probably heard 1,000 times, Pat with his, I love the answers that he gave to things, because I talked to him a little bit afterwards, and he felt that he was, kind of rambling. I was like, man, no, that was great. A lot of us really enjoyed a lot of the things that you had to share. So I really, really enjoyed, just different moments throughout the different podcasts. But yeah, I just want to bring that up.
Yeah, and I want to circle back to Tyrone too, because that was something as well with the outreach this morning, that God in that showed his timing again. Because I talked with I want to say Beth from Dream Center, and they just started
Leah,
up.
I think.
Yeah, what?
Leah?
Oh, yeah, you're probably right. That's Leah. So sorry. Whatever.
We'll edit that out.
Bro, it's nah. We're embracing it. It's 1:40 in the morning. We can mess up words. English is Josue's second language.
second
We're just
language.
trying to get through this. But basically she said she said that they didn't start the outreaches back up until 2 weeks ago, because that's when everything started to open up again. And so that if like we would have came basically any other time, like that's not something we would have been able to participate in. And like with us, it is something like that in everything we do, we want to model balance it to, you know, the people who are listening to the podcast, watching the videos, following us, whatever. And it's because for us, like balancing domestic things and international work is such a key thing to demonstrate to our participants, but as well, balancing this time doing creative stuff with time serving is something that we're super intentional about, and it's something that we want people to be able to also model. And so it's amazing that like we were able, shout out to Josue, being able to get that hooked up and being able to get that outreach going. But then as well, Josue, going back to that fun little first video intro. Granted, I mean, my intro to that was pretty scary too.
That wasn't my
There
best
were some
work.
technical difficulties with the camera too. So if you are listening to this, when we play it on YouTube, there will be some mess ups. But this was our first time, so we're getting it all worked out.
Well, and I mean, we're embracing it, and that's something that we want to do is like embrace the present moment and the journey that we're in, embrace the process. And something that kind of came to my mind is like fall in love with the process of becoming the person who you are. And for perspectives, fall in love with the process of becoming who we're going to be. And it's something that even with simple things of like when we're traveling, having like the birds in the background, having those fun little neighbors in the episodes, having the trees blow and things like
dogs.
that. Like
planes flying.
planes
Those
flying, like
planes,
just like authentically being in the moment and not trying to block out those genuine things, and being willing to embrace that in different ways is something that I think we're gonna stick. I mean, we're gonna stick with. Like, I know we're definitely gonna do that, and it's just something that I love. And that, I mean, y'all are down to do that and just be flexible and just roll with it. It's dope.
Yeah, I think one thing that also stood out to me is you guys should never put me in front of a camera, because now I'm just making faces the whole time. For those of you guys that are watching, I'm just making faces because it's so funny because I watch a lot of different podcasts or shows and things of that nature. And so just thinking about the process of being in front of a camera and how you would act or talk or communicate, and just seeing how, even within myself, how more comfortable I got with it, which is kind of cool. I think, I don't know, because I'm an introvert, so right.
Funny joke.
False.
Maybe ambivert at most.
What's
Can I
an
get a
ambivert?
fact check?
Which one's an ambivert?
Fact check. False.
What's an ambivert?
Basically a mix of introvert and extrovert.
Oh,
So
I don't really know what I am. I just like joking around.
I don't know, but it's late, so we'll figure
Yeah.
that out in the morning.